books, movies, and happiness. My name's April, and today we're reviewing a book that I think a lot of us women have read when we were younger, probably middle school or so, which is Judy Blume's Are You There, God? It's Me, Margeret. Now, most of us remember this book with fondness. It's a great story about a young girl moving to a new school. She's in her preteens. So now she's starting to deal with all of the things that a teenager girl starts to go through while still trying to make sense of it all. It's a great story to read that just kind of helps show the 10, 11, even 12-year-old girls that it's normal, whatever they're feeling, and that things will get better. Sometimes you have to get through the first little surge of whatever's happening. The reason that we're reviewing this book, and we'll be doing other books throughout the next year or so, is that a couple weeks ago I came across a news article in the Des Moines Register that was explaining that due to a law that was passed in Iowa regarding books in school, that there are rules that the schools have to follow for what's in their school libraries now. Which is fine. I get it. You want to make sure you have school appropriate books. It's just the law that was passed was very broad-minded in its wording and very hard for schools to make sense of, because the law wanted to make it to where only materials that are age appropriate, appropriate for the mental ability to understand what they're reading, has no violence, no sex, no religion, anything like that, up until I believe it was high school. Now, to me, I get it. You're trying to make sure that school libraries only offer resources that are going to help children. But there's a few things about that. First of all, not all kids read at the same level. So if you're going based off of a general age-appropriate book, some kids might be reading at a more advanced level than others. Some kids are more mature than others and can handle certain topics just a little bit better than their peers can. So then, to me, you're kind of limiting what they can enjoy. I get the whole sex, violence, and religion thing to a point, because you get first, second, third, fourth, or fifth grade, you don't really want any of that in the books. But at the same time, some of the books that schools are looking at, their idea of violence is mind-boggling. Now, I'm not saying go out and let your 8-year-old read Stephen King, although I'm sure there are some out there that love Stephen King's books. But I'm not suggesting that. I'm simply saying that by having a very broad idea of what they can't have in the schools, schools are having to make some very unusual choices. Case in point, within this news article, there was a list of a variety of books that were being pulled off of school bookshelves. Now, to me, I'm expecting some of them. I get some of them because they're covering topics that might be better suited for high school than they would be for grade school, so I get those. But when you have books for the kids, like Captain Underpants and His Adventures, You're telling me that because of potential violence, you're pulling them off the shelves. I get it. Captain Underpants is an action-packed kids book, but there might be some very mild violent type action in it, but it's not the kind that's going to harm students by reading it. It's actually something kids love to read. It's one of those books that makes it easier to get them interested in reading to begin with. If you take those out, they're gonna lose their interest in reading. Then you have books like this one. Now, for those of you that have read this before, you are aware as I am, this covers a variety of topics that might come up for a young girl. And I get it. Some of the topics in this book are within the listings of what they don't want in the schools. But it's not like this, Judy Blume is trying to brainwash the girls that read this into thinking one way or is trying to cause them harm. She's keeping it very open-minded and broad topic. And if you actually take time to read the book, you realize there's nothing wrong with it. It just covers the basic biology, the troubles of going to school and being a new girl, and then the usual questions that a girl might have based on whatever's going on around her at the time. So I was quite surprised to find out that this was one of the banned books. Some of the others on the list really didn't surprise me. They'll also be featured on some of my other videos of banned books. But when you have any book that you're banning, make sure you read it before you try to get rid of it. To actually make sure you know what you're talking about when you go to ban a book. Because when you start banning Captain Underpants, when you start banning Judy Blume books because of the topics that they may cover, you're not really getting the point of the book. So, for all those people out there that go, well, if they're banning them, they must be horrible. No, not really. Most of the books listed as being pulled off of shelves are actually some great works that make you think. They talk about history, or they talk about what could happen in an alternate reality that, for whatever reason, schools and other places don't want you reading about. Reading is something to encourage. It helps you learn how to think outside of the box. It helps you learn how to use your brain to think for yourself and have your own ideas. So if you have a school or the government or anyone else really that's out there telling you, well, you shouldn't read these because they're beyond your level or you're not old enough for them or just don't read them, do yourselves a favor. Go and get a library card or find a little free library somewhere and find the books that they don't want you to read. Because you'll find that a lot of the books they're saying that, shouldn't be in schools and kids shouldn't be reading, they're actually some amazing books that can teach quite a bit of lessons while still making it enjoyable. Alright guys, let's get into Judy Blume's Are You There, God? It's me, Margeret. This is a very short book because it is written for a younger group. I actually give this book 5 out of 5 stars simply because she does such a great job within her writing of, you feel like you're watching, if you're older like me, you feel like you're reading your younger self in a new situation. So we meet Margeret Cyle. She's a preteen girl who's dealing with the realities of life in general. You know, for her, she's got her mom, her dad, her siblings, but she doesn't understand all of this more grown-up stuff that's going on around her. Her parents decide to move from their New York town home to a more of a suburb area, which means a brand new school, new friends to make. It's also a way for her parents to get her away from her grandmother, who they feel is just a little too much for her to be around. They want her to have some different ideas than what her grandmother does. So, once they get moved, the girls across the street come over to introduce themselves and invite her out to play. And she quickly ends up making friends with them. The book covers her journey as having become friends with a group of girls. They start pretty much talking on the phone every day. We follow her as she just tries to adjust to a new way of doing things in the schools, while also adjusting to the normal questions that girls at that age have. You know, the questions of, will I get boobs? When will my period start? Why is my body doing this? Or why isn't it doing this? Margeret enjoys her time with her friends and with her family, but she needs someone else to talk to. So she starts a series of diary entries, all labeled, "Are you there, God?" And then she'll go either throughout her day or whatever's troubling her at that time, just to help her get some understanding. Within this book, she also tries to understand why her grandmother is the way she is, and also faces the realization that she doesn't really know what to think on certain things. Her grandmother is a very Jewish religion and is trying to make sure that she follows that. But Margeret isn't quite sure she understands what the big deal is about everything. You know, she's happy to see her grandma when her grandma comes to visit, but she's also forming her own ideas of what she believes, and it may not match up to what her family thinks. This is a very cute, very intelligently written story that does a good job of helping younger girls just understand that it's normal to have questions. It's normal to have concerns, and just realize that being around that age when things change, that's perfectly typical. This is a great book for any preteen girl to read, to just feel like she's heard and understood by someone other than her family. I definitely recommend Judy Blume. And indeed, Judy Blume has a lot of girls' books. All of them are designed for a different age group, and all of them are designed to help normalize or explain a variety of topics that girls go through. So if you have a preteen and you're looking for a great author to pick up that could kind of help them understand themselves a little better, or just understand whatever topic they're dealing with, I would definitely recommend picking out this book and even looking for some of the other Judy Blume books. Now, the only reasons I could see this book being on a list of banned books is because it does cover girls' biology with her period and growing breast in that, as well as covering very lightly a very, very light touch on the religion side of things. But it's not a religious book where it's, this is the only religion there is. It's just a very open-minded, my family is this, part of my family is that, which way do I believe? So honestly, I don't know exactly the full reasons for them trying to pull this book off the shelf, but I sincerely hope whatever school pulls it off their shelf takes a good hard look at it, maybe picks it up and rereads it, and then puts it back on their shelf. Otherwise, you can find it at your local library. You can find it in bookstores, Amazon, eBay. There's tons of locations where you can find it. Even the Scholastic Book Fair, I'm sure, would have it, if that still happens in the schools. But wherever you can get a copy, I highly recommend picking up a copy of this book. Alright guys, once again, 5 out of 5 stars for this. If you know of any book in your kid's school or just in your city that you know of that's being banned for whatever reason, please leave a comment and let me know. I would love to be able to find more titles, get a copy and read them and do a review on them. And try and get awareness out there that just because someone bans the book doesn't mean it's horrible. Quite the contrary, it can be a really good book. Alright guys, if you like this video and you want more like it, then please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'm always happy to talk books with you. So anytime you want to mention a book or talk about a book, just leave a comment or send a message. Till next time guys, keep reading.